Hey everybody, welcome to Backroads Living. Charles here. If you enjoy our videos, we ask that you subscribe to our channel. Click that bell icon to be notified of our videos as we upload them in the future. And like our video. We really appreciate you doing this. That's how you help our channel along, and we get more notifications and more exposure on YouTube. So let's talk about cloning today. In this video, we're going to look at how one nation follows another many times, and as you can see in this picture here, it works that way a lot. We got this link sent to us by a friend in Australia who said that we might find it interesting, and I find it very interesting because in her email she said, we find that many times when these things take place, one country follows suit after the other. And we've been seeing that ever since this thing started back last year in 2020 in the spring. We've seen a lot of things go on in one country, and it's kind of like a testing field. And when they see how that works out, then they implement it in other countries. So one of the things that's going on in Australia right now that we'd like to look at here, it said venues can demand proof of vaccine despite government ruling out scheme, minister says. And what we're looking at here is that they're saying that the cinemas over there can demand that people have proof of vaccination, and it's called a vaccine passport. So whether the government says you have to have one or not, they're saying that businesses can require it. So the government's kind of trying to get themselves off the hook, I guess, for the responsibility of making you have a certificate for vaccinations, when in fact, behind the scenes, no doubt, they're telling these businesses that these are something that they might want to do if they want to be able to stay open. And in reality, it all just comes right back around full circle to government implementation and government enforcement. So when I look at this stuff like this, it makes me not want to support these businesses that are doing these things. And I know everybody's not going to agree with me on that, and that's okay. If people don't learn to stand up and be counted for who they are and what they believe, then it's really going to create a lot of problems in not just Australia, but here in the United States as well, and all the other countries as well. But it looked like to me that Australia has been a real testing ground for all the countries around the world. We've seen lockdown after lockdown after lockdown tried in Australia, all across the country there, and now we're seeing these new certificates being tested there to see how that's going to work, and seeing how it's going to work with the businesses enforcing these rather than the government. And let's look and see what this fella here had to say.
You look at the requirement to reserve and to deliver second doses for cohorts 1 to 4. There's 15 million we've just delivered the first dose to and hit that first sprint that we've delivered. And then the next 17 million, which we'll deliver a first dose to, then actually the target of end of April is a stretching target. If we get more supply of vaccine supply remains good but finite, then we have the capacity. We've built an infrastructure that can do much greater numbers. A couple of Saturdays ago, we almost hit 1,000 jabs a minute. So we have confidence that if we get great supply and have got good visibility of millions of doses coming through in March and April, that we'll hit our target for end of April.
No doubt.
The first phase to
no
have
doubt.
At least one dose.
Okay, so, and then he was asked if owners could demand a vaccine certificate if you wanted to go to the cinema. He replied, well, I just think it's obviously up to the businesses what they do. An IT firm called Verifiable Credentials says it's already agreed a tie-up with one of UK Theatre Cinema Complex for a trial of this technology to provide proof of the vax. Electronic certificates will be verified by the NHS and stored in a digital wallet on a smartphone, then combined with a purchase ticket to generate a QR code that would allow entry. So now the government's saying that it's up to the businesses to do this, but I'll guarantee you that they're supporting all this. It says checking people's vax certificates might help cinemas to reopen in the future. Downing Street has reportedly refused to say if it will take any action to prevent such an approach, despite ministers describing the vax certificates as discriminatory. There are growing concerns that much lower vax rates among people from an ethnic minority background could see them barred from social life in the future. There's just so much going on here with this. Speaking, he says much better, as the Prime Minister quite rightly focused on, that you look at the rapid testing. That's the way forward, combined with the national vax program. So they're looking at this thing. Now they do just like every other government in the world. They talk out of both sides of their mouths. They say one thing in one interview, and then they'll say something else in another. They'll let things slip out of one interview and then try to cover it up in another. And it's just the same old all the time. But what we see here in Australia going on is the businesses, they're saying, are going to require, or should require, is what the government is actually saying here. They're trying to say it's not a requirement, but in reality it really is behind the scenes, that the businesses would require this certificate. And if this worked well in Australia, you can look for it to roll out in other countries. I mean, it's just that simple. It's just like follow the leader. It's just like the little kids game of follow the leader. You know, wherever one goes, then the other goes. If this works, then we try it here. If it doesn't work, then we'll try a different route. And then when we get it to work in one place, we'll try it in another place to get it to work there. So keep your eyes open on this, especially our friends that live in Australia. We have another friend that lives there that said that they're still under lockdown right now even, and that they're not allowed to go more than 2.5 miles from their home in the section they live in, that they're not allowed to leave their front gate unless they're going after medication or foods. So, you know, it's just on and on and on. This stuff never ends. And unless people in this world, not just Australia or not just the United States or not just one country, but people's going to have to stand up everywhere to stop this thing. We know what it is. We've seen it coming for a long time. And if people don't stand up, then they're going to be knocked down. It really is that simple. So what I suggest that you can do right now is to make sure you have plenty of prep to put in your pantry. Make sure you've got your medical supplies put back. Make sure you've got your pea shooters, and lots of peas for them. And the more pea shooters you have that have not been registered with the federal government, the better off you are. So keep that in mind. And as always, we'll tell you to keep praying and keep prepping. And until the next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.